This is UMBC Careers Unleashed, where we unleash stories, insights, and expertise to support you on your career journey. Let's dive in.
What's up, everybody? We are, back with another episode of UMBC Careers Unleashed. And today, we are talking about one of the so challenging topics in the area of careers. Dun, dun, dun. Networking. We are unleashing. What are we? Are we unleashing the network? Are we unleashing networking?
Unleash your network.
Unleash your network. Okay.
Or the fear of.
Right. So we have some reoccurring faces on the pod. If you want to introduce yourself, Frank, go ahead and do it your own way.
My name is Isaiah Dunn. That's D-U-N-N, no E. I'm a political science, global studies double major, junior now. And yeah, I have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. But the last time you were on the podcast, you were a rising junior. Now you're like
a full-on junior. Yeah. We're in it. We're in the thick of it. We're trying really hard to get it to pass these language courses so I can graduate on time.
You got this.
In the thick of it. And then we have a new face on camera who's often behind the scenes. Like, I don't know, you're not pulling the strings. She's not the puppet master, but she's like the creative mind, marketing genius, all the things extraordinaire.
All the things.
Please, my friend in the blue speckled sweater, tell us.
Oh my gosh, is it speckled?
It's got, a little salt and pepper in there.
Cool. Okay, thanks. That was way too kind of an opener for me, because I'm really just pretending to know what I'm doing with podcasts. So this has been a fun adventure, and you guys have been along for the ride. It's been so fun. But my name's Marykate, and I work in the Career Center, and I run and direct the I&E team, which is the internships and employment team.
So today, as we were talking about, we're covering networking. And as both of you know, I've kind of been nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, networking is so scary.
Yeah. What's to be afraid of?
A lot of things. But you know how we like to start our episodes out, so we want to start with the career controversy, okay? So for today's career controversy, we want to talk about, so in the networking realm, is it more important what you know, or is it more important who you know?
Right.
You want to start?
Yeah, I can start us off. I think my opinion on this is that it's like a ratio of both things. So it's like in a video game, you have different character sliders, so you can turn your strength up, but it knocks down your speed or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about this. Educate us.
There's it's like a bar that goes from 0 to 100. You can turn up, but if you turn it up to a max up here, it's gonna knock down another one of your attributes down here. I think it's a ratio in that sense where it is more about what you know, but it's more about who you know, but the what you know is still important. It's never gonna not be important. You still need to know the basics of the field that you're gonna be in, but the who you know is what's gonna get you in the door to be able to show those skills in the first place.
Oh, you gave a yes and response. You're like both. But I agree so much with that. I guess I lean more towards who you know, because I don't know, I read this statistic that 70% of jobs are not even published publicly. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
That's a staggering percentage to me, where I'm like, wait, so where are they? How do you access them? What do you mean 70% of the jobs that are out there aren't even published? So when I think about that, and I think about access to opportunity, and I think about, I don't know, I just come back to the who you know piece, and that it will open doors to things that aren't even published, that we don't even know about, and also maybe even get you that first interview, get over that wave of first round applications type of thing, if you have a reference or a referral at an organization. And a lot of organizations actually give their employees incentives to refer candidates for different positions in their organizations.
So know that.
Yeah, a lot of the larger firms and things will do that, or have the budget to do it. It's because they want to, they want to, I guess, have a level of trust, or have a foundational we kind of have somebody who can vouch for this person's experience and their skill set, and it's not just what they've written on the page. There's more context to the applicant when they're referred or have a referral attached to it. I don't know, Steph, what do you think?
I I was like, I don't know anybody who knows me.
That's
but but no, I think from my perspective, I always, because I've had a lot of time to think about this, I'm like, okay, I think it is who you know, but what they know in context. Ooh. You know what I mean? Because like, if someone knows you, but what they know about you is not the most wonderful and glorious of things, right, then it can hinder you from being able to walk into a door without you even knowing it, right? Like if the person who is reviewing your resume worked with you in a former position and you weren't your best self at that, right, So, not to be anxiety making like that you have to be on at all times, but just that, how you carry yourself and how you, perform in the workspace, people do remember those things. But on the opposite side of that, if you had a glowing, rapport with the person and you did a good job, that they can see your name. And even if it is you're applying traditionally, not even if they're telling you like, through the grapevine kind of thing, but like, oh, I went to high school with this person, they were class valedictorian, like, things that maybe you don't even have on your resume. And we're like, oh, so I think it is a lot of who in some instances, but to add like context and layers, like also what they know about you.
Yeah, what I hear you saying, which maybe changing my mind a little bit. Why does this always happen in a controversy where stuff is like speaking wisdom? But I'm like, what influences then who you know.
Expand.
So like that's kind of what I heard you say. I don't know, but I guess I'm rethinking like the way you interact with somebody and communicate with somebody. It does come down to a bit of like what you do know and what you're sharing with that person, what you're giving, what you can provide to them. So that does come down to a bit of what you know, right? And a bit of like what you bring to the table. And then without having that piece of being able to give a little, right? Or like at least communicate what value there would be in some way to this relationship. Without that, are you building the foundation of the relationship, right? Are you actually cultivating a who you know kind of person or network? So I don't know. I think there's like another lens to that where maybe it is first like what you know that gives you access to more. I don't know.
I hear that.
Gives you access to the who.
So I just
you just made a controversy inside of the controversy.
Sorry.
It's the controversy's controversy.
I also just contradicted myself.
It's like I
contradict myself every day. Yeah, I think it's super important to like be able to look back, reflect, and say, actually, I don't agree with what I just said.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the chicken or the egg thing.
Yeah,
like what came first?
Yeah,
is it what you knew? Is it what you know that inspired the person who knows you to then say you know these things?
Yeah,
or is it the person who knows you? That they open the door, like who knows, and then how are they
I feel like for some people, like they'll have a built-in network, right? A network, quote unquote, whatever. Maybe their family members are in the field that they're interested in. Maybe they have access to a community of people who actually have the means to give them employment, right?
Yeah.
And in that sense, maybe it does start with the who you know versus the what you know. But I feel for most people, and even from my experience, like I had my family to rely on to like ask about what they do, introduce me to maybe some people, but at the end of the day, that's not how I guess that's not the person I went to work for, right? So like I learned from some of these people, but ultimately I used what I learned and I had something to talk about in order to connect with beyond that, beyond my core.
So one word. Go ahead. You want to say something before?
I was going to say, well, we're in the networking episode and we keep talking about networking, but we haven't defined networking yet.
Before we go that far, I want somebody to give us a one-word answer. One word for the controversy.
Oh, no.
What or who? Isaiah, what that saith thou? What saith you?
I think based on what Mary Kate said,
One word.
What?
Oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna
What?
change my mind. What?
What?
I changed my mind. I think I'm going what? And I'm actually very shocked that I'm changing my mind.
I'm going who.
Okay.
And I think I might have been originally a what, but like a what on the on
We
the
all
other
missed
end.
each other.
I'm going who.
Okay.
All right, now back to you, Isaiah. You taking it over now. You want us to give you a definition.
I want a definition. We're talking about networking today. We've said a lot about networking. I think we brushed lightly on what networking could be, but I want, like, you guys are the experts, right? You've been in your
I
careers.
guess we've been working in this space for a while now.
I think I've been faking it till I make it, right? I've been coaching people on networking and I'm like feeling so small, like, yeah, you just go in there and do this. And I'm like, no, maybe not. I'm joking.
I have a little bit of that though too.
Right.
Because it's still, I think, well, let's define it.
Let's
Yeah,
define
let's
networking,
define
yeah.
How would you define it?
Whew. Can I piggyback off of yours? No. Networking. I think it is relationship building in its essence.
Mm-hmm.
It is relationship building in a way that can help prosper your future. And not just in the context of like careers and, getting a job and that, but like all the things. Like if I know someone who has a truck
Mm-hmm.
and I need to move, and I'm like, oh, Alicia's cousin has a truck, I can call him. So I think it is having relationships with people or building relationships for the purpose of like benefiting and prospering your future. That would be my thoughts.
I agree. I think that's a great definition of it. I think a lot of times, when you think of networking, at least when I was in school and graduating and I never knew what networking really was before, I had this vision of it being you walk in somewhere like a networking event, right? And you have a suit on and you're there to pitch yourself to somebody else, and then hopefully they want to hire you, and then you have made a great pitch that the person says, oh, that's great, I have a position for you, you should apply for my job. Honestly, I was like terrified of that image of it, and I still am today, not terrified anymore, but like I still get nervous walking into an environment that feels like, oh my gosh, I need to be a certain way and say a certain thing in order for somebody else to want to hire me. And I mean, over the years, thankfully, I've like dropped some of the barriers for all of that. But I guess, how have you thought about it in your daily life? And like, have you been to a formal networking event?
Well, before I get to myself, I want to say, like, I know so many people who have that exact same thought as like that you used to have, where it's like, where I talk to my friends about networking and I'm like, you network with me like every day. Like we go outside and we meet people like every day. Like I don't think you understand, like you just going outside, being yourself and like drawing other people to yourself, like being a natural person is like the best networking you can do. So like don't overcomplicate it. But
I like that a lot.
When I'm talking like myself, I've never gone to a networking event.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about it recently. A lot of my friends are like Black academic people, very very like about their stuff, like doing the research, doing like important research, and I'm always talking to them because they go to these events and they always tell me, not to dissuade anyone from going to them or like that like it's a bad thing to go, but I never, like, for me personally, have heard something that's like, oh, I would love to go there.
Like, tell the truth.
And I'm like,
I just can't wait for this.
Yeah, I just actually really want to go.
Like, I've stand there sweaty and say in the microphone, hello.
Elevator pitch myself.
Yeah.
Like, that's never been my vibe. And like, it's necessary. I think those.
But
spaces,
you're so well connected. Like you do a lot of things on campus.
This is true. Like, and that's what I'm saying. It might not be for me, but for other people, I think like who need that, like who need to be put in front of people, like, and just aren't running into people naturally. Because I think myself, like I run into people just like all the time, like just like
I know, but here's my question is that yes, right, because you are well connected, that maybe you don't necessarily need to elevator pitch yourself, but you also have to be doing it somewhere for you to be on
Well, that's
the
the thing, though.
radio and getting the position on campus and getting asked to come do the podcast and getting, so there has to be something. Like, how in your life have you, like, what is your networking personality?
My thing is always to throw the elevator pitch away, because like you're never going to be able to like get who you are compressed down into 60 seconds of time. But like if you show this person your authentic self, you get them to laugh about something you said, or like did, or like you were just like a little silly with them, or like you are just really like yourself around them, because like there's always someone for you, right? Like I'm a big proponent of someone out there has to like your personality. Like there's no chance that like every single person in the world finds your personality to be horrible and terrible. Like someone is going to find your personality to be like fun, good to be around. And one of those people is probably going to be someone who like has a connection to somebody else. So like I built my network off of literally just like, and again, this does not work for everyone. So I'm like, big disclaimer, this is not everybody's cup of tea. But I've built my network off of just like being who I am, doing the things I love, going to spaces that have the things that I love in them, and like interacting with people in those spaces. So like if you're an engineering major, go to that like tutoring session, go to that like join that club that like is related to like what you want to do, and you'll find a bunch of people who also want to do the exact same thing as you. And then like maybe they know people in the space, in the sphere, who can like get you to the next level too. And then you meet them, and then those people, you meet more people, and you meet more people, and you meet more people.
It's more authentic.
It's more authentic connection that way, instead of like what I was about to go on a tangent about, like the like go in front of like these specific industry people and pitch yourself to them. Like it feels more natural to me.
Organic.
It feels more organic. And I think you get stronger connections that way. And I'm not saying like, and again, I want to give a big disclaimer. I'm not saying that those are not helpful, because I think it's very helpful to have a set list of people that like, who know what they're talking about, and like who are at these like big companies, for you to like pitch yourself to them.
But you know what? I think that you are not aware of something that you also do. And that is when you meet someone that you deliver what your presence has. So like, for example, when we asked you if you would participate in the podcast and you responded promptly over email, sure. And then I gave you minimal instruction because I already knew you, but still I gave you minimal instruction. I told you what time to show up, and you were 5 minutes early, like that. So I want to, now let's just talk about, because that is so you built the relationship, right? We had the vibe, but how do you maintain it? Like that's what, now let's talk about that, because it's not just right, like boom, and then we meet and then it's over.
Right.
You know, because I'm a conversationalist, but I feel like that's kind of like where I fall off. It's like I can meet you. And I'm like, oh, I love your shoes, girl, and your hair. And then
But keeping the connection alive.
yeah.
And that's why like I think when you go to those in-person sessions and like you go do those things, keeping the connection alive is the hard part about those things, because like
it's so many people in there.
So many people. Yeah. They done seen like 100 people at that point. How do you make it special? And I was like, I was going to ask you about that.
It's a big question, because I mean, everyone has their own flair and.
Well, what is your sauce, Marykate? Because I really see you.
Let's get into your bag.
Seriously,
I'm trying to think about it, because really, I think I am intentional about focusing on the other person. And this is something I've learned over time, because when I was really nervous entering formal networking situations, or where there was like a lot of stakes or riding on a relationship being built, I felt I was thinking so much about what I needed to say. And at the end of the day, it wasn't about me. It was about the questions I was asking somebody else and what I was, I don't know, engaging them with. So over time, and to continue that relationship, I've been intentional in the people that I actually want to keep in touch with, because not everybody you meet in a networking scenario or even just in life that is the right kind of person that you want to go keep a relationship being built with. But if it is somebody I want to keep in my circle, I continue to focus on them. So like what can I provide them? What questions can I ask them? And thinking first about like learning about them first, as opposed to feeling like I need to pitch myself. So like it's funny being a career development professional to go off of his advice of like, forget the elevator pitch. But in some ways I actually really don't like the term pitch, because in most, it sounds like you're just standing up, giving a speech and walking away. And at the end of the day, that's not how it works, right? I think there's valuable components to an elevator pitch that somebody who needs a little more preparation for social interaction with people can have in the back of their head of like, oh yeah, these are the things I would want somebody else to know about me. So let me at least have that in mind. But at the end of the day, it's not about you just like spewing off everything about you. It's what kind of questions did you ask that other person? What kind of things did you find in common? So that's the next step of kind of how I've maintained relationships with people over time, because a lot of my professional role now is networking for my job, not just for my own professional development, right? So it's remembering, oh, so-and-so mentioned they're going on this trip. Let me like bring that in and then share something with them about something we found in common.
So how do you then overcome? Because to me, the thing that happens to me in my mind, right, is that I feel like I don't want to be calculated. I don't want to be transactional. Like, how do you, and you don't come off that way, but my natural flow of conversation, I'm like talking to you about where we are in the moment. Like, how do you balance, you know, being in the moment, but also like when they say something like, oh yeah, you know, I have a friend who's you're getting married. Oh my goodness. I have a friend who's a florist. Like, I'm just I'm throwing something out there, but like, how do you, like, how are you forward thinking while in the moment?
I think if I'm in an environment where I want, let's say it's my own professional development is the goal from having this conversation with somebody, right? Like that's the most intimidating one. It's usually asking a question that leads to like whatever they answer, and it's not a calculated like I'm actually curious, right? Like, why do you like what do you do and why do you like the work that you do? And when you get to like the why questions, I found that people start opening up a little bit more. They like, you'll either find out that they really don't like what they do or like they're just doing it for other kinds of motivations. And that's good to know too. But there might be a overlap in why I do the work I do, right? And even if it's different, be like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, I work in higher education space and I have a similar reason to why I stay there too. I really love connecting with my students. I really love presenting, whatever the case may be. That why question I found creates more natural dialogue, and it doesn't come off as like I'm going through my checklist of questions. Does that make sense?
It's almost like you're dating them.
It is very much like dating, and I'm actually not a great dater.
But like, it's like you have to get to the root of them like really quickly. And by asking those why questions and getting them to open up and talk about themselves, because people love to talk about themselves.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
People love to talk about themselves, especially people of like status. Like they love to talk about themselves. So like just asking those why questions gets them in the spirit of like engaging with you.
But do you get to leave an impression by asking about them? Like, do they get to know about you though?
They start to like you. Like I remember, I won't say who this is, but like I was having this conversation with someone who I wanted to like end up working for, and I think like just by asking those why questions and by like sprinkling in like little dashes about myself, it's about finding those little connections.
The windows.
So when the crossroads happens of like they say something about their why, and then that relates to exactly like why you're looking to work for them, then you get to go at bat for yourself and say, oh, that's exactly the reason I wanted to work with you today. That's exactly the reason I wanted to come work underneath you, because because of what you just said. And it's like, oh, this kid is great for the position.
That makes sense. But now think about it like this, right? Because the world is shifting and we have like virtual meetings.
Yeah.
We've got, online classes.
Yeah.
We've got social media platforms. And and then there's an advantage to it because maybe someone who is influential in your life lives in Arizona, but you don't necessarily, you might be able to, if they have a conference one day, to fly over there. But like, what if the mode where you're, the easiest way for you to have an exchange with that person is like a virtual like a platform of some kind.
Check out that Instagram.
Okay, but how do you ask a why question? Because that's a whole. We're like, hello, Mr. Instagram. I would love to be your personal assistant. Like,
I actually have like a pretty strong stance on this because it's really, at least for me, really difficult to just build what I would feel is like an actual relationship with somebody online.
Yeah.
And I have a really difficult time making that feeling like we actually have a connection if I'm just chatting somebody back and forth. I recommend even to my students, I teach professional communications, and in that particular class too, we work on like when you're connecting with somebody on LinkedIn, say you reach out,
professor.
Sorry,
yes, professor. I teach
stop.
professional communications.
No, I didn't mean it like that. But in the sense of what we talk about a lot in that class is taking it offline, like asking for a conversation, a phone call, 15 minutes of someone's time. Like that online relationship, it can get it's hard, right? So like, why not make it a little easier on yourself to actually build a real connection with somebody over, like, could only take 15 minutes, might be all it takes to find something in common for you to express why you're interested in what you're interested in, and then for them to express why they choose to do what they do, right? And there's some overlap there, even if your why isn't exactly the same. There's been a connection made because you've shared something vulnerable about yourself, and that automatically starts building trust. And not everything is going to happen in that 15 minutes, but it's a foundation for a potential, hey, do you mind if I send you my resume for some advice? I really enjoyed our conversation today. And it's just like that's an easy ask actually.
Really?
Yeah.
It's super easy to go, can I get like a 15-minute phone call with you? The political science department does this thing where they set you up with mentors who are in like the fields that that are people in political science are in.
Right.
Usually like law or like policy work or something like that. But they have a great alumni program, and they reach out to them and say, do you want to be like a peer like alumni, like what's the correct word, mentor, or like do you want to be a peer mentor for these new students? And they have a ton of people. You match with them, and I didn't take advantage of it my freshman year when I first did it, because I didn't know like you're supposed to like ask for like that 15-minute conversation. But he actually asked me. He was like, do you want to have like quick conversation so we can get to know each other? Because otherwise we're just going to be sending emails back and forth, and that's really awkward. He was a really cool guy. And I was like, oh, cool. I can do that. I didn't know I was allowed to like give you my phone number and like talk to you like a normal person.
Yeah.
But like the relationship gets built from that, like it gets so much stronger from like just hitting them up with your number and being like, hey, like this is my number, reach out to me. I'm an artist, right? Like, so I have to do this digital networking like all the time. And can I tell you, I hate it.
Okay.
It's hard.
I hate it so much. And everyone on the internet, like when you're a musician, asking other musicians who like charge for features and charge for, you want to get around that. Like you're trying to be friends with them so they'll give you the feature for free. So like my friend is really, really, really good at this. And what he always does is he plays the long game. He establishes a connection like months in advance. Like, hey, I like your music. It's really cool. I'm following you now. And then they're like, they check him out. Like, and sometimes this doesn't work. And that goes into my next thing of like, not everyone is for you. But sometimes they'll check him out too. And then they'll follow him back and say, hey, your stuff's cool too. Then you keep engaging with the content slowly, right? Like, a couple weeks from then they drop a new single, and then you're like, oh dude, I listened to the new song, it was great. This is what I've been working on if you want to like check it out. And then you offer your phone number like weeks later, like later, maybe even a couple months later. He's made connections like that, and he's gotten big features and big placements from just doing that.
That's awesome. I think that's an awesome approach because it's almost like the slow burn, like it's like more natural to do that, but like, and it's nice when you have the luxury in any like search to have time. And sometimes I know a lot of students that I work with, and I remember feeling like this too, that time is of the essence. I need to get this job. Like, I don't have time to play this long game. Like, I need somebody to help me now. Now. And that's, that's why we encourage students to start earlier in their career development as well here at the Career Center, right? But so that you have more time to establish that connection with somebody, because sometimes it does take more time. But I liked your suggestion too or what the example shared is like complimenting somebody's work, right? Like giving them like a little accolade to not just like, oh girl, I like your hairstyle today or like your shoes, but like I read something you posted the other day and I thought that was really cool. Like, can you tell me more about it? Right. Or something work related and complimenting them on that, I think is
and the thing is, it has to be authentic.
For sure.
And so, okay, I hear that. Right. And I hear what both of y'all are saying, because I have to be honest. I do see both of you as you being very well connected, especially in the UMBC community. And then you just over the course of getting to know you professionally, like, you know, a lot of people, you're like, oh yeah, I read an article about that the other day. Oh, and this person, do you know that? And I'm like, I have worked here longer than you. And how do you know these people? So I know that I see you guys kind of like as like natural networkers. And even though I talk a lot, I don't know how to, it feels like calculated. And I hear that you're saying that they're just people. Yeah. Right. So I acknowledge that. But let's say that there is someone who is like a leader in your desired industry, whatever either one of yours are, and they post something on a social, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. Like, what is your inroad like if that's the only way, like, you know, sometimes that's the only way. And it's like, you know, you don't want to be like, you want it to be impactful, but you don't want to be, you know, weird, like, you know, and so, you know, maybe like going into their DMs may feel aggressive, or inbox if it's LinkedIn, like, how do we do that? It's
a weird situation already. And I think everyone has this knowledge of like, this is going to be an awkward thing that I have to do. But like, I would throw out the idea of it like it being like calculated, right? It is calculated. You have to be calculated. Okay. I think like it is uncomfortable to feel calculated because us as human beings want everything to be natural. But sometimes if you have a goal in mind, there are things you have to do to pursue that goal. And one of those things is like to make conscious efforts to reach out to people and like really try to like get them to see you, right? And then everything after that can be natural, but like getting that first connection, you have to be calculated in getting that first connection.
And it doesn't mean what you're sharing isn't true.
Exactly.
And I think that's the piece that broke it down for me. I remember I have like two examples. Well, one, to get this job, I reached out to Christine, our boss, months before I applied for this position. And I connected with her on LinkedIn, sent her a little note that said, I really enjoyed looking at your first destination report or something. And I work in higher education as well. Would love to share resources, something like that. And she accepted the request. And then I saw her like checking out my profile, and, you know, she was just curious like who I was, like, and how I found her. And then when I applied for the role, she told me after the fact, she's like, I remembered you. I remembered that you messaged. I knew the name when we saw the application come in and you messaged me, and I went and checked. And then I was really impressed with like whatever else was on there for some reason. So there was like that more calculated, but also very true. I mean, I wasn't reaching out just because I didn't need a new job. I was like, oh, I actually really think what they're doing there is really cool. Who knows what will happen from that, right? And then I remember early on, this was like a big name person that I was trying to ask to be my like on my board of advisors or like mentor list. And she is like the head of Southwest Airlines organizational development, HR, training, all of the employees group, like head honcho.
Right.
She was on the board at the last university that I was at, and I just like met her once and remembered her name. I didn't really meet her. I like watched her at a board meeting. It was, you know what I mean? Like I didn't actually introduce myself.
Hello,
I
lady.
was nervous in person. I remember I did not introduce myself right away. And I was like, but you know what? I'm going to regret not at least introducing myself online, you know, like, or something. So I remember like looking at her up on LinkedIn, placing that connection request. And what I wrote was, like I knew what she was involved in. Like there was a level of like, I knew her from something that we had in common, which was something helpful to build a network. I was like, and I just would really love to learn from your experience and how you have become such an influence for such a large organization. Right. Like, and I made that very clear that it was for learning and like, honestly, I admired her and I kind of threw that in right away. So I mean, she did respond and it was like so nice and we got to have a conversation and like I still will keep in touch with her yearly. Like I'm not talking often, but like I'll comment or like some of the things that she posts. I'll chat her and say like, glad to see you're doing so well. If I really would like a conversation, I am not as nervous today to say, hey, can we talk again? Because I know you'll remember me.
That authenticity is so important.
Yeah.
Because like,
but it was calculated.
Yeah.
But it was true. Yeah.
Well, what if she rejected you?
At that point, I was like, you know, it's not meant to be then.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that helped when I released that pressure a bit. And you talk about this a lot. Is like, not everybody's for you. And it's like, for sure, not everybody's for you. And like, when I got to the point of like, she may think I'm crazy, but this isn't going to make or break my career. Then I'm like, okay, well, I might as well try. I'm not going to get anywhere by not trying. Like, I'm not going to like expand my reach by not saying hi to this person. Like, but it was a little easier when it was online because I didn't do it in person.
She was like, send.
You know, I was like, okay, send, close my eyes and like hope she responds. Oh, but she was so great. Shout out Elizabeth Bryant. She's awesome.
Elizabeth Bryant. That sounds like a name you want to have on your board of advisors.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, like I think touching back on like everyone isn't for you. Like when networking, you have this pressure of like this because you do need that job. That job, it's summer's coming up. Like I'm an undergrad. I'm looking at my summer jobs like right now because like, oh my gosh, like last time I started way too late and like I needed to like call in my professor and be like, professor, please give me a job, please. I'm sorry to call again, but like I need your help. But like when you're doing it, it feels urgent. But like there's so many people. You're gonna meet more people. You're gonna like you can find more accounts on the internet. Like you can find more people online and talk to them. There's so many different ways to connect with people. This like I know it feels like it is like a serious like make or break situation, but you will be able to find someone else, and you will be able to like connect with someone else. So you don't have to cling to this. Like this doesn't need to be something you cling to and say like and place all of your like self-worth on. Yeah. Because if they're not for you, they're not for you.
But you know what? I feel like, and this is like real. Like I feel like in a lot of ways in my life, I have been hiding in plain sight. Like, you know my name, or you're like, oh, you know, like, you know, oh, the really loud girl, the girl that sings, or the blah, 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 like whatever it is that you, however, in what space you know me. But it doesn't necessarily seem like that it has moved the needle forward in like my professional pursuits. And so I'm wondering, like, what if, let's say you're underrepresented in some way, whether it's like that you're on a tech or STEM campus and you're a graphic design major or a performing arts major.
Stuff being poly major here too.
Okay, or a political science major, right? Like, and it's like really STEM heavy, or it's like that you move to Boston, you know, you don't know anybody. Like what? Like how then? Like if in that case, right? Because I'm feeling like that a person who is strong at networking, right? Like that you can take their network and they can build a network. Like so, how if you are in position of disadvantage, if you have the strength for it, like speak to that person. You're in a position of disadvantage. I'm, as a person who has learned how to network, I'm going to tell you how to be strong in a position where you're disadvantaged. Like, what advice would you give me?
Do you want to go with?
Or the people, or the folks, or the folks, but I mean, but me, the folks, they are me. I am the folks.
Isaiah has advice.
Yes.
I think what I would say to that person is you have to, like, it was like a little bit about what I was talking about earlier, where you find like something that you like to do, some other person in your community. So let's say you drop me off in New York today with a briefcase, no laptop, no phone.
Yes, the briefcase is making a reappearance.
It really just has my passport and my license, like, and that's it. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to like a local, like, art spot, somewhere that looks like funky, cute, probably somewhere in Brooklyn.
Like where they snap their fingers and do open mic nights.
Yeah, like an open mic night, something like that. I'm gonna go perform there. I'm gonna go like, or if let's say like let's give me a different career to make this like more accessible to people. Let's say I'm a writer, right? Like for a newspaper.
Okay.
And again, I get dropped off in New York. I'm gonna go to.
I'm sure there's meetups.
Yeah, they have to have like a meetup or something. I in this case, I do have my laptop.
Go to Eventbrite.
I'm googling like where the writers are going, right? Like where do writers like to meet up? Probably
coffee
like
shops.
a coffee shop, or local,
or a library or something, or a
something
bookstore
like
or something.
Yeah,
do people go to
somewhere
bookstores
heady
anymore?
like some people do.
Okay.
But somewhere heady like that, and I set up shop, meet some people, try and make friends.
How would you walk up to somebody at a coffee shop?
How do I approach people at coffee shops? I do approach people at coffee shops.
Do you really?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
like,
tell us how.
I literally like it's usually, and again it's about authenticity, because if it's not authentic, I'm not going for it. And if I don't have anything to say, I'm not saying it. But like if I have something to say, like if I have a thought about that person and I think they look really cool, or like they're talking about, I hear them talking about something that like sounds interesting, I'm immediately popping in. Like I'm like, oh, like, yo, your suit like looks really cool. Or, oh, your shoes are like really awesome, or something like that, just to start like an initial conversation. And then from there, like it's about asking those questions, getting to know who they are, asking the why, and then now you have a new friend.
Right, like, oh man, I love your shoes. Oh, I'm new to the area. My name is
Exactly.
Isaiah. Like,
Trade socialist.
Yeah. Or like, what do you do for work? Or like, what are the things you're interested in? Oh, me too. I'm a writer. I actually was a something. I hear that. Look, I'm inspired.
I'm inspired by that, because
I have
I was
a
like,
whole
everyone.
networking spiel just from listening to you about your coffee shop.
I know, that was really good. I'll take a slightly different recommendation. I agree with everything you said. Say you're going into one of those like more formal like meetup groups or something like that. Something that's helped me is going and positioning myself near the food.
Oh,
yeah.
Or the drinks or somewhere like that, because I think I had to let go over the years that I think I'm the only one who doesn't know how to do this well. And really walking in being like, nobody wants to meet, like it's intimidating to meet new people for everybody.
Right.
So let me post up near the food and let me start up a conversation with someone by the food to say like, oh, what are you getting? Or like, do you like, what is this? Like, did you like it?
That's
yeah.
I've never done
And then
that.
it's like, hi, I'm Marykate. Oh, nice to meet you. What brings you here today? Like something, you already have that in common, that you both showed up to the same thing.
Right.
Right. Or you both are in the same space or the same city or whatever layer you want to go for. And then from there, I mean, some people are better conversationalists than others. Not every conversation is going to be like a major hit. But if like, I'm just going to focus on the other person and like really listen, actively listen to what they're saying, it'll be much easier to have like that natural flow instead of getting caught up in like all the things you feel like you have to say.
You know what? And I think like I'm listening to you all, and I'm going to be honest, like I have been going into like this conversation with y'all, felt like really network poor. Like, oh, my network is like, you know how when your bank account is like negative and the numbers are red? I'm like, my network bank is red, is in the red. But I do think that I have, if I'm being true to myself, like when I was saying that it's relationships, I do think that I have a wealth of relationships that maybe I have not leveraged well. But one of the things that is coming to mind when I'm listening to you all, right? we're talking about the initial contact and then how to maintain connection with people who maybe are estranged from us in some way. But I also think there's room for like intimate relationship building too. Like if there's someone who you really admire, or if there's someone who is in a position that you might want, like just to get in their space, like to offer yourself to them, like Christine, right? Our director, who I think the world of for so many reasons. But not to say that, I feel like that because of the way she does it, that the director of the Career Center is such big shoes to fill. But I would love to be a fly on the wall for like a week though. Do you know? I not ask her anything if she needs a paper clip to get it, but just to like listen to her conversations. I just feel like just by virtue of being in her space, like that's not formal. Maybe that's not networking. Maybe that's more a mentorship kind of thing. But I think that is also a part of networking. It's like that you have grown me. Yeah. And just like walking closely with someone. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say is like that I have felt network poor because I haven't had somebody to reach out to. Yeah. But I have had the wealth of like walking closely with people and having them to be influential in my life. And I think that is also something that like people can take into consideration. If you can just like, can I shadow you for a day? And or can I whatever. I'm sorry to be clapping my hands, but I'm getting excited. It's like, what do you need? Yeah. Do you need a ride to the airport?
Yeah. When a group of students was presenting in my class this past week, and job shadowing was one of the top recommendations. Yeah. And everybody was like, oh, I could just ask them to watch them. Like that seems such a lower barrier, like a lower, I guess, foot in the door instead of asking for an internship or asking for, that next level. It's like, can I just observe and like learn through osmosis?
You learn so much that way. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something
being
about
in
that.
the room with like people who are great at what they do.
Yeah. And then taking it to the networking
and that
side.
feels authentic too.
That is authentic.
Can I walk with you?
What do you do to follow up from that though? Right. So you have your day of observing and soaking it in. Then the relationship building piece, right, is that continuation. So like there is intention, right, behind what we plan to do following that particular experience. So
bringing questions. I think like if I was just doing like a shadowing experience and like I would have questions on deck like all day, like and I wouldn't ask them yet. Like I would save them for later so that I can
your little notepad.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm writing stuff down. I'm
that was my
typing
pencil
my
behind the ear.
Oh, I got it.
Go ahead.
He pulled a pencil. I was like, what are you pulling out of there?
So you're saving your questions to the end.
So I save my questions for later so I can ask them follow-up questions after the day is over. Yeah. Maybe the next day I'm like, I saw that you did this. Can we talk about that? Because I thought that was super interesting.
That's a great idea. I love that.
I do too. I think, and then like thanking them at the end, and then maybe I know that that's not and they may not get the chance to see it, or they might, but I feel like what the old adage is like that the highest form of flattery is like what do they say, mimicking or replication, right? Like so that if there's something that you picked up, that you carry that into your practice, or if you get the opportunity to give them their kudos or their flowers in a certain way, like if there's something that or sending, this is old fashioned, but maybe like sending them a thank you note or something that they mentioned while they were saying, oh my goodness, I haven't had a such a sweet tea, and then you like send them one, or you bring them one randomly, like maybe just, and I think that to me feels less even, and I don't know, maybe that's weird, but like less transactional. Like it's like, oh my goodness, I remember this old candy bar that they used to have or whatever. And like, you might not be able to get it right away, but like at Christmas time or if their birthday or whatever, and you send them the candy bar and you say, I remember that you said, like that warms the heart in a way to let them know you were really listening, like
especially in the digital age where we don't have that kind of connection anymore. Like it's not like old fashioned, like it's something that like we should be doing more of, I think. And it's something we should bring back a lot more. I was raised like with my parents and my grandparents. They taught me every time someone gives you a gift, you write a thank you note. You handwrite it.
Mm-hmm.
And like back then I would mail it out, but now I just give them to people. But every time I get a gift, I write a handwritten note. And if you gave me a gift and you didn't receive a handwritten note, I'm so sorry. You probably are wondering why you didn't get one.
I will say I was recently at a thrift shop and found this entire bag. It was a huge bag for like $6. And you know, cards today could be like $6 a card.
Yeah.
But huge bag filled of blank, like old cards that they were like reusing. And I'm like, oh, I'm set for the rest of my life. Like to send, actually, it's like, hopefully I will be doing that more because it does go a long way and it's a nice touch, a memorable touch.
Okay, so we normalized right, contradicting ourselves, right? Like saying it and taking it back. So I want to touch on one more thing, and then we're gonna like cut the people short because we don't want to keep them here all day because they have to go out networking. They need to network. They need to be inspired to network, right? But we were talking about that because I really wanted to push in on the authenticity piece because I do feel like sometimes it feels icky and like calculated and like I'm using you, but you, I think, have helped even me feel comfortable. What happens if your interaction with the person, right? This is my flipping it. This is a controversy inside the controversy. What if your interaction with the person is short? How do you, like at a career fair?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Or like if you are at one of those, like, I don't know, kind of mixer events or wherever the context is, and you do have like, what is this? I only get one shot. Like you only got one shot. This is it. Like, how do you then, for the person who's feeling like insecure, how do you help them stand out in that way? I am people.
Yeah, I guess my initial gut is like, don't put so much pressure on that like first interaction because it is about the follow-up.
Okay.
And I think if you didn't get the time you needed or the time you wanted to make the impression you wanted, I want to flip that though. Like it's not about that. To make, I guess, the connection piece that you wanted, or you haven't found the connection yet, you still have time. So there's so many ways to connect with people now.
Because it's like at the career fair, it's 2,000 people.
Yeah, you can easily find who that person was, regardless of getting their business card. They're on LinkedIn. Everybody is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So, I mean, blessing or a curse with this platform, like you can find them and you can find their contact info. And even just a quick note when you're reaching out to say, like, thank you so much for coming to the career fair. I know we only spoke briefly. I was this person, like give them context to who you were. I'd appreciate the connection. I have some follow-up questions, or something to give them an idea of like why you're connecting, but making it about them, not about like what you need from them is key.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
So it's not giving them the real, hello, my name is Stephanie Taylor and I, like
no.
it's not being pizzazzy.
Like, when you only had like a 2-minute long conversation with someone, when you're reaching out to them, you need to like probably preface with like, I know you saw this many people today, and you probably don't remember who I am, which I've been told not to say that. You don't remember who I am because it's presumptuous.
Okay.
But like, I know you acknowledging the shortness
that you were there,
the shortness of the conversation, and the fact that like they might not remember who you are without saying it explicitly, but like, I know you saw a lot of people today, but I wanted to make sure that we like, I really valued this relationship or like this connection and the time that you spent with us. And I had a couple more questions and I was wondering if you were able to answer them for me and leave me it open-ended.
You know what? I think though I would feel insecure on the end of like being the person who is networking too, like trying to create the connection, I'm gonna tell you something that I appreciate on the other side. I like it when the person that's trying to connect with me comes to me almost over prepared. Like they knew I was going to be here or someone was going to be here, and that they took the time to like, so for example, if I go to like a fair or whatever, because I've been in a recruitment role, and the person comes up to me and they're saying, hi, my name is this and this, and I went online, like 2 weeks ago or yesterday or whenever, and I saw this job there and at your company, and I applied for it. Like, and I don't know, like if you're the recruiter or if but like, here's a few things about me. I have a physical copy of my resume. I don't know if y'all are taking them, like, however, but it's like before you even came here, you took the time. So now you give me something to plug right into. Right. Now, if I take your physical resume, I can put a little star to say already applied. Do you know what I mean? Like so that might be also something as a tidbit that maybe if I was feeling insecure that I would not like, that might be something that could help me to give my leg up, is like that I like almost like shoot past your expectations, surpass your expectations if it's really important to me. That's something that I have appreciated.
That's so interesting you say that though, Stephanie, because you started this whole conversation being like, I don't want to come off potentially inauthentic, or like I feel awkward approaching people this way. Yet if you were flipping the
I reserve the right to contradict myself.
I know, and I love it though, because I was thinking about that too. I was like, if we can all just think about like, how do we want to be approached? Like what would feel natural? What's the kind of conversation that I would potentially want to have with somebody? Thinking of it from the other person's perspective too can help. So I'm looking,
you know what? And that goes back to us all being humans, right? Like, you listen. I don't need to say and restate what has already been said. Here's what I'll say. Typically, we try to close the episode with a resource. And I feel like that the Career Center now, as far as like networking and advancing your network, like all of our resources are for that.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, of course, there's LinkedIn. And that's like international. But even inside of the UMBC community, we have what's called Retrievers Connect, where students can connect with other students on campus. And a lot of folks don't know about it. Like, and I'm giving that information on it, one, because I'm like really trying to do it for my own purposes, because I want students to really know that there is a UMBC like community specific digital platform where we can network, so students can connect with students. Students also can connect with alumni. Alumni can connect with students, and alumni can connect with one another. And if I had to liken it to something, it is kind of like a LinkedIn, but just for the UMBC community. So that's one thing. And then also Handshake. I mean, we use Handshake for so many things, but like that is an opportunity for you to now, they're expanding their platform. Like you can follow an employer. They are now posting like different reels and stuff. They're trying to get real social media-y with it. But you can also apply for jobs on there. So I think those are two really good like resources that we have on the UMBC campus. One, Retrievers Connect. And the cool thing about that is everybody has a shell profile. So all you have to do is go in there and like do your single sign-on, I think. And then it might even be able to, it connects if you have a LinkedIn profile, it can pull your picture and some of your information. And then you can do video chats. You can send messages. You can like snoop through people's professional history, like, oh, who was a political science major in 1999? Oh,
but the coolest thing is like you're automatically have something in common with all these people
because they are in the UMBC family.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Handshake. So those are the two that I think, you know, if we had to give you a little like piece of tidbit at the end, Retrievers Connect and Handshake. Don't say I didn't tell you. Let them tell you, because they're the experts.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
It's
always fun coming here.
I know, and having you on this side of the camera too is so priceless. Instead of standing behind the camera saying, because that's normally where she is. All right, y'all. Peace out.
Bye, y'all.